Emotional abuse is emotional abuse. Abuse is abuse. The difficulty with narcissism is there's no bruises. There's no evidence. There's no weapon. There's no incident that's been caught on a security camera that would get somebody locked up. Is my girlfriend a narcissist? So this is a question that I hear a lot. Obviously, in the online space, when a person finds me, it's usually because they've Googled something like, why doesn't my boyfriend love me? Why is my girlfriend so cruel to me? What is gaslighting? Something like that. And then if they find me here or they can get through to me on Instagram, they'll try to get me to diagnose third hand if their girlfriend or boyfriend or husband or wife or whoever is a narcissist. And I always think, why? Why do you need to do that? What's the point? These terms, narcissistic personality disorder, it doesn't matter what any online guru tells you or any narcissistic abuse life coach tries to tell you. These are psychiatric, clinical terms. And unless that person goes to a qualified clinician who either is a psychiatrist or is qualified to diagnose a psychiatric condition like narcissistic personality disorder, you're not going to get an answer to that question. And you don't need one. You don't need an answer to that question. There's another question you can ask, which is what you actually need, which is, well, there's a couple of questions. Is my girlfriend kind to me? Is my girlfriend consistently lying to me? Is my girlfriend respecting my boundaries? Am I arguing over the same stuff again and again with my girlfriend? Now, depending on the answers to these questions, you can get the resolution you seek. If you're saying, I'll only leave my girlfriend if she has an actual clinically diagnosable psychiatric disorder, which is becoming more prevalent. It used to be 1% of the population. Now it's 5% of the population. So statistically, there is a better chance now that she has it than, say, 7 years ago. But you shouldn't have the boundary set up in your mind, I'll only leave her if she has a clinically diagnosable psychiatric disorder. That's crazy. That's not a reasonable presupposition. It's enough to say something like, do I feel safe within this relationship? That's a good question to ask. Do I feel safe within this relationship? No, I don't feel safe within this relationship. What are you doing? What is the point? I think we can reduce this to more simple, basic questions and more simple, basic terms. You don't need to externalize your locus of control. You don't need to make it complex. I suspect what's happening is people are thinking, oh, if my boyfriend or girlfriend has the clinical diagnosis of narcissistic personality disorder, then I can give up hope and then say, okay, well, there's nothing I can do, and then I'm justified in leaving. Your boundaries are not set tightly enough, my friends, if that's the case. If your partner consistently shows you a pattern of behavior that looks like emotional abuse, which they must be doing, because how else did you end up here? How else did you end up with these questions? That's good enough to leave. I'm saying emotional abuse, not physical abuse, because if it's physical abuse, that ain't narcissism, that's psychopathy, and they're breaking the law, and that's a question for the police. The difficulty with narcissism is there's no bruises, there's no evidence, there's no weapon, there's no incident that's been caught on a security camera that would get somebody locked up. Gaslighting, emotional abuse, ambient abuse, these things are more vague. But to bring clarity back, you can ask simple questions. Do I feel safe in this relationship? Do I feel safe enough to completely love my girlfriend? Or do I think loving my girlfriend is kind of dangerous? If you go, no, I don't feel safe, you should consider dissolving the relationship. In my humble opinion, you may say, no, I should battle through and I should do this and I should do that. That's up to you. That's up to you. Everybody gets to choose how many chances they give somebody. You're going to let somebody lie to you 1 time, 5 times, 15 times, 25 times? What point do you say enough is enough? That's up to you. You're going to let somebody, I don't know, humiliate you in public or say abusive things to you privately or in public? How many times? 5 times, 10 times, 15 times? It's completely up to you. One of the things that we're facing culturally, one of the many things that we're facing culturally that makes this difficult, that makes it hard for people to say no to narcissistic abuse, and it means that narcissistic personality disorder is flourishing unconstrained, is people have lost all of their moral boundaries. This is not a culture that rewards having a moral boundary. We have no morality. And if we have no morality, because everything is everything and it's all social constructionism and your truth is your truth and my truth is my truth and what's acceptable over there in that country is completely unacceptable over here in this country, all of this soup, all of this mess of moral relativism leaves an open playing field that means we're unanchored from any sort of communal sense of what is right and wrong, which leaves us all in the nightmare scenario of having to rewrite the rules of the boundaries of a normal, functioning adult relationship. And I would say this, for me personally, not for you. I'm not a priest. I can't tell you who to break up with. I don't care. I actually, Freudian slip, I actually don't care. I get asked about dating and relationships all the time. I care in a sort of a broad, philosophical, quasi-spiritual sense about human suffering. I care about not just humans, or any suffering. It's like a Buddhist sort of sense of like, oh, dukkha, Sanskrit word for suffering, is bad. We should seek to reduce it. If you're suffering, that's not great. And I wish that you were not. I wish that you felt better, vaguely. I'm not going to do anything about it to make you feel better because I don't know you. There's very, very few people I would get up off the couch to help because, frankly, I don't know that many people. I don't see myself as a martyr. I don't have a messiah complex. I don't think it's my job to go out and save the world from suffering as such. So you have to understand when I say these things, I'm not invested in telling people how to live. I don't think I have the morally righteous position to tell you you have to get married and have 2 kids and do everything in your life exactly like me, or else you're a moral degenerate. Message to the moral degenerates. I don't know how people should live. And I think people who claim that they do are mentally unstable and delusional. How dare you? Like, how dare anybody tell anybody else how to live? It's completely insane. I don't know. I don't know how you should live. I do suspect that we can start with simple moral guidelines between right and wrong. I don't think you should hurt people. I don't think you should lie to people. I don't think you should steal from people. I don't think you should take from others what is not freely given with their consent through guile or by force. Like, if we can't agree on these simple principles, we're really, really screwed. Without a communal sense of right and wrong, the human being does not function very well, which is why we're all struggling, why everybody is struggling. It's why mental health issues are through the roof, because we've created an amoral and immoral system. It's probably a subject for another video, but this is the natural end result of unboundaried social liberalism. I am not making a political point. I'm not making a political point. Social liberalism means that, socially speaking, what you do has no boundaries to it. Now, I just said I have no right to tell other people how to live. And quite frankly, I don't care how people I don't know live. What I'm saying is, from an engineering point of view, as a cultural engineer, as a potential totalitarian dictator that I am, as somebody who understands human behavior to some degree, when people come to me and they say, I'm suffering, I go, well, I can see why. You're trying to live free from morality. How do you know if you're being abused if you've abandoned morality? You don't know what's right. You don't know what's wrong. You have no moral boundaries. You must create some. You must create some, and you must stick by them. If somebody lies to you more than this number of times, then it's time to dissolve the relationship. If somebody continually transgresses your boundaries and you've told them that you don't like it, or that it hurts you, or that there's negative consequence to you, and they do it again and again and again, with no real justification, I would say, in my humble opinion, if you're asking me for my humble opinion, you have a right to dissolve the relationship. I'm not saying you should. I'm saying you have a right to. And so here we move from quite complicated psychological issues where we externalize our locus of control, because quite frankly, narcissistic personality disorder and all of the cluster B personality disorders are quite difficult for the layperson to wrap their head around. I'm not being patronizing. I'm saying, like, I had to study this stuff. It's 5 or 6 years now for me to wrap my arms around all of the terms and the supporting ideas and the history. And he said this and she said that. And when they did this, it meant that. And then in Germany, it means this, but in America, it means that. There's a lot to this stuff. It's complex. It's psychiatric language. It's full of jargon. You're not a psychiatrist. I'm not a psychiatrist. So the locus of control is completely external. I think we can say, okay, we actually don't really need any of that anyway. You don't need people like me. You don't need gurus. You don't need clinicians. We can move to complex psychology and psychiatry. We can move away from that. We can move to a simple philosophy. Can you answer questions like, what is right? What is right? What is the essence of rightness? What is the essence of good? What is wrong? What is the essence of evil? What is the essence of wrongdoing? Think about it. I can't give you these answers. I'm not who gives answers like this? I'm not an ideologue. I'm not a priest. I think it's important that every individual finds an answer to these questions for themselves. How should one live? How should a relationship between two adults work? Especially if it's a sexual relationship. So you're at very high levels of intimacy. If it's a sexual relationship where there's money involved and you're sharing a living space, I mean, we in the rampant, unfettered social liberalism we have now, we just flipping skip our way, singing joyfully hand in hand into these scenarios. It's completely insane. It's very, very, very dangerous. It's extraordinarily emotionally and psychologically provocative. And you're at great vulnerability when you bond, when you pair bond, and you have the chemical, hormonal, biological effects of being with somebody compounded with the weight of ancient cultural mores that we enforce half of, but not the other half of. It's insanity inducing. That's, any one of us can understand that. Anyone can take a simple philosophical, sociological, anthropological, historical view at like a very basic, secondary school, high school level, and go, yeah, this is actually kind of tricky. And then we can recognize it's dangerous. It's extremely dangerous, and we can start moving away from this. Doesn't matter if your girlfriend is a narcissist. Doesn't matter if she's a borderline. Doesn't matter if she's a psychopath. Not to you. Not even a little bit. Not even a little bit. You know who it matters to? Her dad, her mom, maybe, if they still care about her, and her psychiatrist and her therapist, of which you are not. Emotional abuse is emotional abuse. Abuse is abuse. You're here because somebody has displayed a consistent pattern of behavior over time that makes you feel bad. Look, let me suggest this to you. This is personal. I'm not telling you how to live. This is how I choose to live. There are some combinations of people that don't work. They just don't work. There's no reason. I don't know. You just wind each other up. I'm single. Thank God. If I was in a relationship and over time I was like, this relationship makes me feel like crap, I don't really know whether she's doing anything that's making me feel this way or if just us being together makes me feel this way. I would dissolve the relationship, free from blame. And if she said, why? I would say, because being with you makes me feel worse than when I'm single. You make me feel like I'm going crazy. You could be doing literally nothing. It's not your fault. But hey, do you want me to live like this? Do you want me to live feeling like being with you makes me feel like I'm losing my mind? If she's any kind of a reasonable, decent human being, she may be sad, but she's probably going to say, I hope, no, I don't want you to suffer through being with me. Okay, then we dissolve the relationship. We're breaking up. Simple philosophical boundaries. Simple. I don't feel good being with you. You want to get into she did this, she did that. Okay, well then it's just hammering nails into the coffin. You can actually tell me or tell your friend or tell your therapist, these are the things that she did that really hurt me, knowing that they would hurt me, or that were completely irresponsible, or that showed a complete lack of faithfulness to myself, to her, to the relationship. Because again, the social liberalists, the unfettered, those addicted to unfettered social liberalism don't like boundaries, and they don't like accountability, and they don't like responsibility. But life is not a game, and this is not a playground, and we are not children. And the stuff we do as adults, it leaves scars, nasty, nasty scars, and can create a lot of pain and a lot of suffering. We have to take this seriously. You engage in a relationship between two people. Doesn't matter if you're straight, gay, or your sexuality is classed as other. You bond with another person, and then you try and live with them, and you're mixing your finances. If you have kids, that's another thing. If you get into a marriage, a legally binding contract, that's a whole other thing. It's dangerous. Don't take this stuff lightly. Set your boundaries, set your stall. This is what I'm going to put up with. This is what I'm not going to put up with. This is my vision for a relationship. If we're too far away from my vision of a relationship, it has to be dissolved. I may cry. I may be heartbroken. It may make me feel the big sad, but life is short. We have one life. There's no do-overs. It's not a rehearsal, and I don't have time to waste. Time is the most precious resource you have. Speaking of, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time and for your attention, and I look forward to speaking to you again next time. Thank you. Okay, folks, the new course, Unplug from the Matrix of Narcissistic Abuse, is out now, and if you're interested in finding out more about that, please click the link below.